What if you could help others to find the power to heal themselves? Physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
When I started teaching my classes, it was in 2002, and I was just doing the past life regressions and contacting the subconscious part. But then as the time went on and we found how powerful this was and what we could do with it, a lot of the students began saying, you know, advanced past life regression doesn't really tell what it's all about. This is so much more than that. We think you should change the name. So it was a few years ago we decided to change the name to Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And this is the healing technique that we've now been teaching it, well, since 2002, that's 12 years.
What if you could time travel with them? Visit mythical places or angelic realms, other worlds, other galaxies. Help others to speak to their higher selves. You can. Dolores has taught thousands of people from across the world how to use QHHT, and now you can learn her method by going directly to dolorescannon.com. And don't forget to mention the discount code MORETALKS. Welcome back to another episode of the Kevin Moore Show. Now on today's show, I'm about to be joined by my guest, Keith Anthony Blanchard. Now Keith had a typical middle-class Catholic upbringing, and in his early teens, he often entertained himself by pondering the big questions about God and the universe. Now, little did he know that the day would come when those questions would form the spiritual foundation upon which he would build the rest of his life. Now, in his early 20s, Keith went through a crisis that stripped him of everything he held dear and left him with no choice but to turn inward for answers. Now, this he did, but the peace and stability he so wanted still eluded him. Now, when Keith was in his early 30s, extraterrestrial and celestial beings began to appear to him, sharing glimpses of his future and the world's. Now, not only did they enlighten and guide him, they instructed him to pass their message on to others so that they too could learn a higher way of living. Now, Keith joins me to discuss his latest book, Homecoming, Crossing the Bridge to the Soul, and much more. Keith Anthony Blanchard, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Kevin. Greatly appreciate it.
It's great to have you on. Great to have you on. And for the audience, let's just go straight to the end of this interview and say, what is your most important message and what is the center of light?
The most important message I've been sharing with my audience, my followers, today's world, is the importance of that. What is that? Looks like a crystal ball. Well, it is. It automatically throws me into a meditation to begin to explore what this actually means. Everyone should want to become that. In fact, because of not having it, we find ourselves in Hello 2020. So as we become of clear mind and the power, the light that lives in all of us, doesn't really live in us. It's actually who we are. Because if you were not 98.6 degrees radiated light, you would be invisible. People can see. So when Creator's light begins to move through a clear mind, life gets really easy, really juicy, really sexy, really quick. It unfolds this beautiful possibility that has always shrouded our potential. It's always stifled what we actually are. But now, people today, they look around and they moan and groan and complain about 2020. I get it. I'm human. I get it. But strangely, grace is flowing through this wellspring we call COVID, because we're all being put in a situation where we have to become clear-minded. We know that when we step out into that world again, it is going to require a clear mind to make sense of it, because, well, in fact, you can't make sense of the senseless. It's just truly impossible. So when we become clear mind, we get to pull back and see things clearly. And I think many people are waking up to that possibility. But there's just so much to unpack about where we are today.
Where do you think we are today?
In the land of fertile ground, of infinite possibilities.
Does feel like that a bit, doesn't it? It feels like it's been a reinvention of a lot of people. Like they've had to go within and ask those deep questions. Am I happy? What am I doing with my life? Was this what I wanted? You know, I mean, some people won't have asked any of those questions and they would have, everything would have flown by. Some people, they've used it as a form of reinventing themselves, even for work, by using the time to study and study different things in their life.
Yeah, and COVID for me is not only a virus or whatever that thing is that's killing people, but that's not all it is. Because infinite potential lies in the fact that seeing the diamond in the peanut butter jar. The diamond is the ancient, right? And the peanut butter is all over the diamond and gets a little muddled, a little muddy. But COVID is not necessarily just a virus or whatever it is. COVID is an experience. It's really an experience. It's a gate that says, you can walk into this arena, but it will require a sense of awareness about yourself to be able to navigate. If not, sadly, many people will leave this planet.
Obviously, you're in your studio right now. You do a talk show, The Center of Light. How long have you been doing that for?
About 10 years. It started in a very comedy kind of way. Someone said, Keith, I need a break for a couple of weeks. Can you just host? I said, I think I can navigate through it. And after the couple of weeks, he contacted me and said, bro, do you want the show? I said, sure. And it started there. It was called The Searcher's Roadmap. And after about a year I said, that's just not me. So he gave me permission to change it. I've been doing it. This is probably my 10th year.
Wow. Okay. And how many people have you sort of interviewed in that time? And what sort of people have you been interviewing?
I have had the blessed opportunity to interview many doctors of many different walks, many different spiritualists, many authors, God-realized men from India, one by the name of Swamiji Viswayogi, his 9th incarnation on the planet today. He is, Kevin, he's illumined, seriously illumined. But I've been fortunate to have this plethora of people who actually walk their talk, and they do it very fully. They are on fire. In fact, there's no way out of it for them. The way out is in. They are just so illumined and so addicted to the Godsmack that they just want to. In fact, it's no longer a trying for them. Like with me, it's integrated. It's something that is who I am. And I found that when I found myself, when I moved into myself fully, and those things that I truly want to aspire to and to become and to allow to happen, things just got really, really easy. And Center of Light began to grow, and I achieved a listening audience of about 4.5 million. And when I left Inception Radio Network a couple of years ago, I took a hiatus for a year, and just starting it back up. And I just love being with people.
Yes, and you're starting it back up on YouTube as well with more of a video show as well, which is great. And I mean, look, everything you're wearing right now, all the clothes that you've got on, I mean, this all comes off when you're not doing this show. This is just an outfit that like we all wear a suit, don't we, for different types of things. I mean, I may be doing this type of show right now with you, but I mean, off air, I'm back to being, someone else sometimes. We all wear different suits, don't we, in a sense, throughout this journey.
I love that you said that, because that is so me. This is a garb. It's a costume. I'm playing a role. When I go play music, which I do full-time musician, I don't wear this. I wear other bling bling because I fit this role. It's fun being these different characters. It's fun being these different personifications, these different incarnations of my whole self. So yeah, I love it. And as soon as I'm done with you, all this stuff comes off. The lights go off, everything. I go in the front room with my son and my brand new little kitty cat, and we eat some pizza.
Yeah, absolutely. And Lavender Soul is your band. And what is the website for Center of Light? Just remind us of that.
Lavender Soul is my spiritual music group, comprised of members of the Memphis Symphony Orchestra. We have 3 albums out now. You can find everything about me and my work at centeroflightradio.com or KeithAnthonyBlanchard.com. They're the same site. You can also look up YouTube, Center of Light Radio, or youtube.com/Center of Light Radio. So you can find me and everything I am and what I do in these particular platforms.
Okay, okay. And with all the people that you've interviewed and that you shall go on to interview, how has that affected you? And what is the sort of central message from some of those interviews that has guided you along your path to want to, give that message back to others, but also has helped you as well?
Phenomenal question. The common thread I found through all of these people is passion. If we look out and about or look within, again and again, we will find that the universe is quite passionate. Nothing could have come about if it wasn't. And so myself, what I've learned and I've seen in other people is that they have this fire, this passion. I always say there are four components, at least these four for me are primal. The first one is passion. And when you implement these four variables in your life, this master key will open doors like nobody's business. The first one would be passion. Passion is rolling up your sleeves, getting your fingernails dirty, fixing the car engine, right? I'm passionate. I'm going to fix this thing. And then you have sincerity, which is, I need this vehicle, right? And number three would be humility, bowing down. We're highest when we're at our lowest. Humility is just being appreciative, allowing it, seeing it for what it is, kind of creates that reverence, that humility. And then the final one is the vulnerability, opening yourself up and allowing that which is really ourselves completely out. So these people have modeled for me this very way of being. And now that I've crossed The Bridge to the Soul, my new book coming out August 1st, 2020. You can purchase this now, pre-order on Amazon.com. Keith Anthony Blanchard, Homecoming, Crossing the Bridge to the Soul. I find myself now meandering, moving down this pathway on this rickety rope bridge, right? When you first step on that bridge to move into your soul, spiritual awakening can be messy. So you don't know how the bridge moves, so you're holding on for dear life. You get a little good at it. Then you understand the cadence and how the bridge sways. You begin to sway the bridge, and then you begin to manipulate the bridge and make this movement as you walk across. And everybody else is just getting on. It's like riding training wheels on a bicycle. They still wobbly. And so I've learned to find absolute balance within myself by using these four principles.
Okay, and there's so much to talk to you about, right? There really is. Just want to go back a little bit. So, obviously, how would you class yourself right now in this mode, and wearing this suit? What are you right now?
Joyful, happy, playing in the cosmic sandbox, reaching people, which is my love. I love being connected. I could connect to people who are miserable, but the connection is not as strong, especially if I take very, very, I would say, I won't use the word pride, but in a good way. I take pride in what I do. And I love seeing a smile on someone's face by something I've done. To me, that creates such an amazing bond. And that which we call divinity, I begin to connect to. And so it is my passion, my sincerity, my humility and vulnerability to do just that.
Well, there's definitely a lot of misery right now. There is. This thing has brought up all the issues in a lot of us, hasn't it? In different ways. But it all comes back to the surface, no matter which way you prod at it. And there's a lot of unhappy people.
It's going to get worse.
Yeah, and how do people? What's your advice from what you've gained in your experience on this planet for what people have got to do to get through that? I mean, everything's within, isn't it? All answers lie within, but we don't want to listen.
And there you have it. Consequences happen through conscious choices as well as unconscious choices. This place that we're living in is what's been spoken about in all prophecy. Not only are we fortunate to be human, the apex of creation itself, we are fortunate to be human in this time that this whole shebang was ever created in the first place. That's how significant each and every one of us actually is. Situation, What you think is happening isn't. What you never thought possible could be happening likely is. This world out here is lying to you. This is not just cliche pseudo spirituality. People think, well, I have a choice. This is the best one, and this is the one not so good. You're still in jail. If you think you have a choice between the this one and the that one, you are still confining yourself to a prison of the mind. So what is my third choice? Exactly. What is your third choice? There is something that lies beyond the duality of this world. What you think is good and what you think is bad. Why do we not feel that we deserve that something else that is the observer that simply just looks at this experience, this game of life, if you will, and just allow it to be there and appreciate the movie? You know, we go to the movie and watch a horror flick. We don't try to change the film. We just sit back and watch it. And when we're done with the movie, we go, wow, what an intense ride that was. My best advice is to get out of the fight. Bickering about politics, anti-racism. You would think we should stand up for racism or anti-racism. We should stand up. But you're still plugging into racism. All these different things, chemtrails and whatever nonsense is out there. This is engaging in an internal fight, an internal battle. All this bickering. When you simply just step back and look at everything, accept it, allow it, appreciate it, and see it from this perspective, that's exactly what we see. And one by one, the world will illuminate. There is no other way. There are many paths to the path. There's only one path.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm constantly questioning. You know, I don't know. Maybe not so much why the path, right? Because the path isn't it? I mean, you're just on the path. You're conscious. You're awake. What are you going to do? You know, take that cyanide or you know, get that rope and you know, call it a day. I don't know. I'm just not built for that. Do you know what I mean? I mean, some people can, you know, do that, and I'm sure there is a regret for doing that, for not just for the people they leave behind, but for themselves, for not continuing the journey. The journey's hard sometimes. The journey can be difficult, and you know, it's keeping in balance, and it's keeping a check with that stuff that's between your head. You know, that noise and that rubbish. You know, how have you balanced that to keep going down your path and to keep that noise away, that head noise sometimes?
I don't try to shut the head noise off. A few years ago, I made a contract, a deal, shake hands deal with the monkey in the head. Ooh, 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 ooh. He's constantly screaming he wants a banana. So one day I went to meditation and I brought a metaphorical banana and I peeled it for him, got it all nice and sweet, gave it to him. I said, listen, let's have a talk. I actually did this. And I said, I know what you want. I want the same thing. But I can't get it as long as you're making all that racket. So eat this banana. Now that you have food in your mouth, be quiet. And when I find it, you will be the first I will let know. In this deal, so to speak, I begin to realize that I don't want to, here we go again, get back into another brawl, to another fight with another belief system, this ego, the one that everybody wants to kill and or squash. I don't want to squash my ego. It makes me who I am, the individual snowflake, right? So I allow myself, again, I step back and I watch the noise in the stream, but I don't engage. I just watch it. I love it and I appreciate it. And in so doing, through the light of awareness, it simply changes. It just simply changes. No longer I say, oh my God, and in fact, I shift again from that's noise that I'm aware of to I don't even see it as noise anymore. It's just part of the stream that's just moving by.
But how does that engage you in the world? You know, once you're back downstairs or upstairs or wherever you go to, you know, to be with your family or doing the next thing you're going to do past this show, how do you engage in issues that come up? Problems that cause anger and all sorts of other things.
That's a fantastic question. When, like you said, same idea. When I'm done with this interview, all this garb, this uniform comes off. I go back into Humanville. And I really enjoy the human experience and I play very humanly. But there is an integrated, a default nature about my life, because I've been doing it so long, probably like you as well, and many other people, that it's just default. I am this person that is this way all the time. Now, beyond that, some Keith stuff happens, but I'm congruent and I move forward from this way. Yes, life does come along sometimes. And look, I'm one that can get aggravated, but I vent it out. I don't just get aggravated. Like I say, Kevin, when things happen in our lives, it's okay to get pissed off. Pissed off is very healthy because you're looking at it and I'm pissed. I don't like it. You don't have to like it. I don't like you. What is it you're here to teach me? So I get pissed off and I get really mad for however long I choose to do. And when I'm done, I put it on the shelf and I'm done. It becomes an accolade, an award, validation or proof that I went through the fire. But getting mad, being pouty all the time, that doesn't go anywhere. It stays in the subconscious, just sitting there lurking and lingering, causing unconscious trouble for someone. So the process is never truly complete. I have learned for me that when things hit me, I take them in, I look at them, I taste them, I smell them, I take it home and name it George, and I look at it honestly, how it moved me, how it triggered me, and then I find me in the scenario, and then I'm done with the scenario.
Does the scenario need apologies to be sent to other people, do you think? I mean, if you've upset someone?
Apologies need to be first applied to ourselves, even if we did upset someone. We need to forgive ourselves first, because in the recognizing that we did said something to someone holds one accountable, consciously or unconsciously. And the unconscious aspect is, you shouldn't have done that, versus, that's just not who I am. So it creates an unconscious thorn in the mind that can cause weeds and unconscious trouble. So until we forgive ourselves first, the forgiveness of others, it's going to be very shallow.
Interesting. Thank you for that. And
Yes.
obviously, we're touching on bits of homecoming, crossing the bridge to the soul, by just in the discussion that we're in. But I do want to go back as well a little bit, because you were raised Catholic, and you actually wanted to become a Catholic priest, didn't you, back in the day?
Yes, it's all the black. 12 years old, my father says, here, Keith, play guitar with me. My dad was playing these Cajun, I'm from South Louisiana, he played these folk Cajun country gospel songs. And he wouldn't say, put your fingers here. I just had to learn and keep up. And then the rock star vision started. I wanted that. And 15 years old, my father buys me an electric guitar, but I had this passion in me, this desire, this simple, beautiful thing that existed. I was an altar boy most of my early life to be a Catholic priest. I went to seminary school. And I met a girl. And I wanted the girl and the rock star. And so I lived that whole life. God went to the closet. So I lived that whole lifestyle. Many years later, 4 years into the relationship, I left South Louisiana and moved to Memphis, Tennessee, which is now my 32nd year here. She left. I was an aspiring musician. She was my shelter, my intimacy, my food, this, that. She was all of it. I'm an aspiring musician. I don't have no job. She said, enough. And we were fighting back and forth. And she left. Dark night of the soul, I went. I went back to that same closet. And I said, I think I need you. And again, I began to lament, fervently say this blessing, this prayer. I need to hear your voice. I was passionate, sincere, humbled, and vulnerable. And one night in June of 1996, I was thrown into a divine experience coming out of sleep from playing music the night before at a casino, 7 grueling long sets. I was dog tired. 6:30 in the morning, here, Keith, good morning. It's time to wake up. So I look around the room. There's nobody in my house. I said, dream voice. I lay back in the bed. And the voice said, Keith, I asked you to wake up. And I sat up in the bed. The voice lovingly, violently threw me back on the bed, my eyes closed, and I found myself standing in the presence of the Absolute. And then my priestness came back.
And what did that come back to? What happened? Just take us on that journey a little bit.
Homecoming. That was my initiation to crossing the bridge to the soul. was me in that dark night of the soul. Everything's backwards, forgive me. This was me, just dark and despair, nothing. And then that's when I started my walk. And eventually, this is metaphorical for me, moving into a greater possibility. But I'm coming back home to myself. And what I now know myself to be is something I never thought possible. And I like being in that, not knowing what it is, because it's fun. The mystery is the dance. I'm blissful. I don't want for anything. I'm just very, very simple, but I take things that I do very powerfully and very seriously. And I will never, never accept mediocrity about anything. I want it all. I got the fire. And when we move into that fire and burn away the nonsense of what's collected by the mind, something else begins to happen. Something else simply arises within the heart space, the stargate, the cosmic womb, if you will. It rises in our consciousness. And then we feel we get to actually begin to integrate our birthright. And then from that point forth, after we cross the threshold or the 50% mark of that bridge, then we're moving into graduation, which is our divinity, becoming conscious of our unity, or what's the word I'm looking for? We call it samadhi with God. And so God is no longer this thing for me that lives out here. I understand the idea. Inward is upward, metaphorically, which is forward toward something. So I know now this cyclical nature that is moving into me, this momentum. And I do everything I can to ride that life-conscious river, that current, without being a stone like a rapid that will only cause turbulence and trouble. Turbulence and trouble is a beautiful, graceful kiss on our face. God says, I love you. And we tell God, I love you back when we recognize the diamond in the peanut butter jar or the stone in the moving river.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that with us. And there was a voice that you sort of mentioned it there, that you had that you thought it was a dreamlike voice. But I mean, in 1996, you did grab a tape recorder and sort of dialogue with that voice. That started, didn't it?
When the experience was happening, the second time I heard "Good morning, Keith, I asked you to wake up," it not only meant wake up because I'm waking you up out of bed, it meant it's time to wake up out of your human slumber. When I was laid back on the bed and my eye opened, as I find myself submersed in the light, I knew the molecules, where they came from, why they were here, and where they were going next. Some people would call this a supra-conscious experience. When I heard, quote, the voice, it didn't sound like the burning bush for Moses. It didn't sound like that at all. I heard the voice. There was an audible component to it, but I saw the voice. I smelled the voice. I tasted the voice. I felt the voice. It was inherent in all those molecules. In all those molecules, all those globules of light, in all those photons, all those infinite universes. And when the voice began to, let's use the word speak, when the voice began to express itself, it happened in whole thought. It wasn't fragmented thought like we do on Earth, thought after thought linearly from now to the future timeline. This was an impregnation of, it was a packet of light, if you will. And it took I felt impregnated. I knew there was encrypted information in there. And so I had to go into it. I really didn't have to go into it. I had to somewhat look at it within myself and to understand it and watch it unfold. And it said, bring your tape recorder, go sit on the sofa and let your mouth move. And I said, what will I talk about? It says, trust me, Keith, the voice will be there. Click. Boy, and it was ready to go. As soon as I hit click and took that breath and hit record, in, not out, came the most far in material I've ever experienced in my life. And it was all loving. I would find myself at my computer 6 to 9 hours a day, from 12 noon to 6 or 9 at night. I would never leave, use the bathroom, eat food, or run an errand. I did it for about a year. And then the voice said, enough with all this. Go live everything you've been writing. Don't recite things as a parent. Make these proof. Make these anchored within you so that you become the testimony of this very teaching. So this began this whole process for me of exponentially awakening.
Gosh, okay. And then you started kind of manifesting like crazy a bit after that as well, because there was this trip to India that you took. And how did you get there? And why was this pull to want to go there? What happened when you went there as well?
About 1998, 99, however long. I'd say 98. I learned of this divine man that lived in India, who's no longer on the planet today, by the name of Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba. Um, After my learning of his presence on the earth, I began to read every book I can find about him. He doesn't write books. He's way above writing books. People who are skeptical in nature, they're the doctor scientists. I'm not picking on doctors and scientists. I'm just painting an idea for a model. And they are the ones going to India to see what all the hype is about, all that noise. They're the ones coming back writing these books and saying, I don't know what that is. So I began to read all these books. And in these books, many of them say, Sai Baba came to me and said that when I come to you in dream experience, you're not dreaming. I'm actually present. So I began having these experiences for about a year. And one night, morning night in particular, I'm being tapped on my, I guess, astral, etherical knee, only to be awakened in full-blown consciousness, to see Satya Sai Baba, who is this man here, standing across a river, speaking to me telepathically. I don't know if you can see it. It might be washed out. There. And he came to me and said, across the river, he said, Keith, come see me in India. And I'm like, doing all this genuflecting, my deity stuff. And I said, I would love to, but I've never done such a thing. Where will I get the money? How can I put this all together? When should I go? And he says, Keith, put all this down. I got you covered. So I wake in the morning remembering what just happened and remembering all those things I read in all those books, going, is this real? We're going to find out. I let it go. Put it to the side. 2 weeks later, I get a phone call from a lady I've never met by the name of Debbie Jabor. Hi, Keith. My name is Debbie. Hello, dear. What can I do for you? She says, word got to me through a mutual friend. You want to go to India to see a holy man? I said, yes, ma'am. She says, Keith, I'm a flight attendant, and I got some companion passes for the year that are about to expire. I would not like that to happen, knowing you want to go experience something so precious to you. Can I give you a first-class round-trip ticket? 3 months later, I brought the same tape recorder, went to India, experienced in 2 weeks on this ashram, which what many thousands of people will never experience collectively in their lifetime, the miracles, changing the weather right in front of my face, manifesting objects right in front of my face. The greatest miracle was people of all color, all races, all creeds, walk, talks, codes, and sex getting along. And not only just getting along, loving each other, kissing some faces, hugging some necks. I wrote this book called For the Love of God, A Spiritual Journey. And so I was there the first day, Kevin. I got there a little late. So I was in the back of the ashram, which I was grateful just to be there. And finally, he walks out of the gate on the west, and I'm going, pun intended, oh my God, is this real? So manifesting God, if I could do that, and I'm the guy next door, anyone can do anything. And so I found myself in the back of the ashram literally going, this is happening. I actually realized a dream that I had. It was a glorious time, taught me a lot, expanded me beyond the wazoo. I was there for 2 weeks. 1 week would have been enough. Kevin, when I left, I felt so bloated, like eating 2 pieces of cheesecake when 3 or 4 bites is plenty. I just felt so swollen. I couldn't take it anymore. It was so rich.
Incredible. Incredible, right? Yeah, I mean, I've never been to India. I hear about these amazing experiences that people have over there, and one day I will visit. One day. Do you ever see yourself going back, or?
I do see myself doing that. And if it's only internally in a vision, I'll accept that. I would love to go back to India, to Sai Baba's ashram, but I would also love to go to Swami Visvayogi, this avatar I mentioned just a bit ago. I'd like to show a quick picture. He's right here. This beautiful, beautiful man, again, came to me in a dream. Came to me. It's amazing. I get spiritual contacts through telephones. I don't know why this is. When I finished this book, Kevin, it took me 14 years. I didn't work on it all the time like I did the Divine Principle. The last comma on the last page, I corrected it, hit save, stood up from my chair, and I said, "Thank you, God." And my phone rings. And it's Mona Winfrey. "Hi, Keith, blah, blah, blah. A holy man came found you astrally, and he wants you to interview him on your radio show." And so thus began my love affair with the divine in this man. And he works through me and with me all the time, even though he's not here. But I would love to go in his ashram and see him. But he does come to Memphis once, sometimes twice a year, and gives his darshan, which is blessings of the holy man. Gives me things to do, tells me what's on my agenda for the next time, until the next time I see him.
So one of the signatures that you pronounce or say is Yanava. Yanava. Now, what does that mean? I think that's in the book.
When this door opened up for me after about a year, started very far from understanding, trying to see what it felt like to wade in this water. I began to meditate in my meditations. One day in particular, I asked the question. I was so fervent. If I have a soul, what is its name? And I heard immediately, it came just barreling through, Yanava. And those who have been following me for a long time, my brand I was going by for many years was a shortened version, Yana-O, hence center of light, Yana-O, center of light. And then this has been with me for years, since 25, 26 years. This man shows up in my life. And so I was interviewing him physically. He was in the same room with me, talking with him. And he says, "Any other questions?" I said, "Yes, I have a personal question, if I may." He says, "Yes." I said, "Many years ago in meditation, I heard my soul's name is Yanava." And it actually, to make a point, almost took him back. He kind of looked at me. He goes, "Everyone listen to me very carefully." He says, Yanava. Everything's backwards, so forgive me. Ya-na-va. He says it's actually pronounced Yaha, Naha, Vaha. He says these are sacred seed syllables of the ancient primordial self. Ya, the Y, has a circle in it, in the yoke. Wholeness, completion, balance, unity, divinity. Fire, God, will, power. That stuff. The Na, the end, is the mind. Notice there's a linear bar across the mind. Timeline goes from here to there. Hopefully, it's clear. And then Va, the V, has a spine in it, if you can see. It represents the backbone. Ya, na, va. Power, fire, God, clear mind, right discernment, right judgment, and the backbone to carry it out. So Yanava is who we are at our ancient sacred seed. So basically, if we can use this model, when we first become separate, not really separate, but when we first have our own identity, other than as if we just left the Godhead, when we become an individual, that would be Yanava. That's the sacred primordial seed name of that particular next tier down, if you will.
Absolutely. And how have you applied, or do you apply, I guess you have to, in some respects, apply discernment, not only in the interviews that you do, but in your life as well? How do you balance that word discernment in everything that you've been doing in your life so far, even up to the book as well?
There's an integration, speaking for me, and I'm sure it happens this way for anyone. For me, there's an integration that has happened. Again, like what I mentioned a little earlier, it's not necessarily me that I have to go find the tool of discernment and say, here it is, and to begin to use it. It's something that is natural for me now. There were times I had to search my toolbox to become a better craftsman. That opportunity does make itself present to me sometimes. But I have a default way about my discernment. There's something that immediately comes up for me in any situation that arises. One is a fight, flight whatever that thing is, reaction. But also there's a part of me that that gets kicked in the groin or chopped to the throat and so forth and so on. But immediately I fall into I don't react. I take conscious action as often as I consciously can.
Yeah. And that keeps you balanced enough just to know, well,
Flow.
this is either in alignment or it's out of alignment. And then again, there are some people that say, well, truth is what we want it to be, in a sense. There is a universal collective truth, but there also can be a personal truth as well that may not be collectively agreed upon. But if that's what you think it is, then that's up to you to come out of that and use and to learn that actually it wasn't collectively true, maybe.
Yeah, by what's the brother Ford, the car inventor? He says, if you think you're right, you are.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you are on this level. But yeah, absolutely. Okay, I want to move to your ET experience as well, which some people may find that difficult to mix that in with your work, because some people may say, oh well, he had me on the spiritual stuff and now he's lost me on the ET stuff. So how are the two connected? Why are they connected? And what was your experience?
At the early age of about 8 or 9 years old, growing up Catholic, believing in whatever demons, boogeymen, devils that I was instilled, I would never, as an 8-year-old child, jump out of my bedroom window to go hang out in a pitch black backyard at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. I just wouldn't do that. Especially I had a fear of big dogs. Just wouldn't do that. But often, on occasion, randomly, I would find myself standing outside in this pitch black backyard, looking at the sky, saying, what am I doing standing out in this backyard looking at the sky? I was I was dumbfounded, but I was never afraid. I never felt like something just happened. Oh my God, I'm gonna have future trauma. It was none of that. I was just like, what is this? But it always felt somewhat natural. In fact, in the backyard, when it came to consciousness, I wasn't afraid of demons, devils, boogeymen, or dogs. I was just there. And so the first night, I'm going, after my dumbfoundedness, looking around the yard. So, because if you know me now, I'm 5'4.5". And so when I was that old, I was I was about that tall. So I looked around the house to find something to prop myself, to stand on, to lunge myself back into my bedroom window. So I found a cinder block and I stood on it routinely as these things would occur. Nothing happened in the form of, this happened for about 1.5 years, 2 years. Then it was gone. In fact, I forgot about it. All the experiences, I was never aware what happened before that conscious moment. About the age of 32, 33 years old, I'm watching the Discovery Channel, and there was a program about aliens and extraterrestrials and UFOs and all this stuff. And I had a full conscious recall. I knew the who's, the whens, the whys, and the wheres, all of it. The early part of my life, these visits, I was never violated. Never was I violated. These visits that I would have were to tune and manipulate my energetic system so that the time would come when I would meet these kinds of divine avatars and even angelic energies from other realms, not necessarily incarnated in the physical level, so that I would be open, ready, and available for this life I came here to live. And so this was the beginning process. Now, come 1997, well, in between, I had a couple of conscious visits versus just remembering what happened all these years ago. And then the avatars started coming, Satya Sai Baba. And then right at the same time, Kevin, I never thought about this. 1998, when I was introduced to Satya Sai Baba, it was the same time I was introduced to Nucleus 8, who was physical on this earth, an alien human hybrid that I was fortunate to hang out with for about 4.5 years. So they tie together very, very well. They are the same thing.
Absolutely, they do. And what happened in that visitation, in a sense? What was some of the information that was shared with you? I mean, and have they? Is that contact still there, or was it just that sort of at that period?
I'm standing in queue to go into a metaphysical church. The door is not open yet because we still have a few minutes to wait. And a goofy girl, friend of mine by the name of Laura, sees me in the back. So she comes running towards me and gives me a hug and a kiss. Hey, Keith, what are you doing? Bouncing around. She's a goofy girl. And after the meet and greet, she says, hey, Keith, you want to meet an alien being? And I'm thinking, oh, that's just Laura being goofy. And she was being goofy, but I can see she's being serious. I said, yes, I do. She says, follow me. Kevin, I'm walking 60 feet away from where I was standing. And I'm not sure if a little green man's going to jump out and say, nanu, nanu, or live long and prosper. I had no idea what to expect. So she brings me to the backside of this 5'1" woman. And when I get there, she says, Keith, meet Nucleus 8. Nucleus 8, meet Keith Blanchard. The first thing, this energy, this is not per se channeling as we know channeling to be. This is definitely some sort of superimposing or imposement, if that's such a word. And when this woman turned around, this energy it slammed me. It said, what do you want from me? It's like, wow. What do I do with that? How do I respond? And then it says, you want some help with that? And I said, okay. And it says, you wanted data. It didn't say friendship, a beer, pizza, and coffee, or none of that. It says, you want data. And then he started laughing. And so I guess he's breaking the ice. And when we shook hands, I knew we had a relationship immediately. There's so many different directions I can go. Over the course of these 4 years, Margie, star one, when she was a child, she was abused. They worked with her, this group of extraterrestrials worked with her and made a deal with her that when she got older, that Nucleus would work through her. Star one went to Dr. Rex Hare. Dr. Rex Hare has 5 books online. Dr. Rex Hare, aliens, extraterrestrials, aliens, Indians, and fairies, kind of thing. And anyone's interested, you can contact me. I'll send you these books. They're free. Dr. Rex Hare is a 40-year clinical psychologist. So he brought her into his office, his room, because she was a patient, just signed up. And he put her to light hypnosis to see what was happening. And the first thing that stepped out of her is a fairy by the name of Perithnia, and says, if you think you're going to come in here and hurt her and monkey around with her mind like the people of her past, I'm going to stop you myself. So after many years of this, many sessions of this going on, Dr. Rex Hare brought in his colleagues and says, guys, I need your help. And after about 15 minutes of a session one day, they said, Rex, you're on your own. So many experiences I had with Dr. Rex Hare and Margie. One would be Nucleus 8. Dr. Rex Hare and Margie came over, and then Nucleus walked in. Dr. Rex Hare put me in a light hypnosis to just kind of poke around to see if there's anything bothering me or anything that I want to remove as the good doctor he is. We did some poking around for a little bit, and I said, I seem to be okay. He says, wonderful. I'm going to count you out. 3, 2, 1. Hang on, Rex. Nucleus steps in and says, hey, Keith. I said, Nuke. Call him Nuke. We called him 8. I said, Nuke. He said, yeah, buddy. I said, what's up? He says, you remember that journey I've been promising you? I said, yep. He says, you ready? I said, okay. He says, don't do anything. Give me your hand. I give him my hand, and he begins to pull on my hand as if I'm tugging on this shirt. And out of my arm, as he's pulling it, my consciousness went about 5 feet. And I get a glimpse. And then I'm slammed back in. And he says, what's the matter? This is happening physically, but yet astrally. He says, what's the matter? I said, dude, this is so strange. I'm trying to figure out how to do this, what not to do. He goes, that's your problem right there, Keith. Stop trying. Let's do this again. So he begins to pull on my arm again. And I get out about 15 feet. And when I got out this time, I was still hanging on for dear life by my nails. And I popped back into the body. And he said, Keith, I can't do this anymore. I can't violate your free will. Some part of you is holding on. So we're going to stop for today. He says, but what did you see? Because he knew I could see. He can monitor 6 dimensions simultaneously. He's 4,720 years old. I'll get back to that. I saw his ship. His ship is very sleek, his personal craft. He is a galactic cop. He is head of security for this quadrant of the Milky Way galaxy. His name, Nucleus 8. He was grown for the purpose of security, hence his name, Nucleus. He's number 8 on a board of 12. I saw his police vehicle. He was very sleek. So he and his team, they actually roam around this quadrant of the galaxy policing it. So I walked into this, found myself inside of this craft, and my first thought is, where are all the chairs? All the chairs began to pop out. As soon as I was done with the thought, the chairs went back into the wall, and the experience was over, and I found myself talking to Nucleus as he's whispering in my ear. So this is one of those experiences, which there are many, 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 many. He's 7 foot tall. He is, his mother was a tall gray. His father was an Egyptian king, and he's milk white. His skin is absolute white. I think I sent you a picture. You're welcome to use that. His hair is white, 6 digits on each hand and foot, and he's very masculine.
Yeah, that picture is coming up on the screen right now. And has there been any contact since then?
So I have not seen Nucleus 8 after that initial 4.5-year friendship, with lots of cray things that took place. It just disappeared. Life just happens and things change over. The tables turn. And coincidentally, my first interview on Premium Network, Inception Radio Network, for Center of Light Radio, I interviewed Dr. Rex Hare. The next day, this is 14 years later, the next day, I get an inbox on Facebook, of all places. Hey, Keith, why don't you let an old man into your group? Frank here. I said, do you know Dr. Rex Hare? He said, Keith, this is Nucleus 8. You better be jumping up and down. And so began once, twice a year, if I'm lucky, dialogue. He is so busy, especially if this is happening on Earth. Imagine what's going on in the galaxy. He's a very, very busy individual. But he does show up once in a while and say, hey, buddy, what's going on? And just dialogue. Kevin, dialoguing with him, the intellect is just so strange.
Was that dialogue, when you talk about that you spoke to him, was that in the head? Was that
No, this is physically coming out of a woman's mouth.
No, I mean the latest dialogue, the one that you just mentioned just there, the last dialogue that you had with him, in a sense. Is that, do you dialogue with him in your head at all, or is it just always through someone else?
I attempt to talk to him telepathically or within myself, but my only experiences I've had with him intentionally talking to me as we're going, engaging in conversation, is through Star One, Margie.
Okay, and she's based in the U.S.?
No.
Oh.
After I lost track of her and Dr. Rex Hare, little did I know that they got a divorce, and they still in having love for each other. She, of course, she now lives in Egypt.
Wow. Okay. That's a big energy vortex place to live in, isn't it? My God, Egypt. Wow. Okay. Cool. I've never actually been to Egypt. I've got to go one day. I really do. I bet it's an amazing experience. Okay, well, so that's the sort of ET. That's interesting that you've had that sort of, that experience. And if you were to sum up all that, what do you think how has that led you on the path that you're on to have that experience?
I made a choice. For eons, I've been making certain choices that brought me to this place here now, to work on becoming a liberated soul, liberating myself from my own imprisonment. I made a contract before. I was fashioned here on this rock, and I kept those choices going by wanting to be a priest, by dating the girl that taught me the beautiful lesson, by continuing to choose better and better to use my discernment, as you've talked about earlier. It all led me to here now. What I do want to share with you, Kevin, is you asked me about my time with Nucleus. one of the most powerful second experiences I've ever had with Nucleus 8, he would, after that Sunday service I mentioned when I first met him, when we had that service, there was about 7 of us. Every other Sunday, this service would happen. When he would come to town with Margie and Dr. X, about Martinville, that's about an hour, 15 minutes away from here, we would have a meditation session after. And of course, he's the alien. He's going to lead the session. And so he did. There was about 7 of us. One morning, he calls me and says, Keith, good morning. I say, hey, buddy, what's happening? He goes, what's up, Al? He says, Keith, everybody in our group has an implant like you. I said, okay. He says, they're smaller than you can see. I make them myself and only have 1 left. Do you want it? I said, convince me. And this is when I'm starting to believe that these things are happening, Kevin. And he says, okay, if you're lost, we can find you. If you're in trouble, we can help you. And if you're sick, we can administer medicine through it. He named a couple extra perks. And I said, all right, what's the drawback? He says, your life is no longer private. You have anything you're ashamed of? And I thought about it. And I said, no, I think I'm okay. He says, no one has access to your file but myself. And I would only go into it knowing that on some level you're calling to me because you need me. I said, all right. He says, do you want it? I said, I do. He says, by the next time you and I speak, this will be implanted. Be it over the phone or face to face, you will have this implant. I said, great. I go back here again. Here are these alignments. I'll go to the casino that night, play long sets in the casino's an hour away, and I come home and I'm blistered tired. To wake up into a state of full-blown consciousness by this excruciating pain in my right kidney region. So, of course, in this experience, I'm looking over my shoulder to see who's doing this. And there is the equivalent of what I would say would be like an 85-year-old woman in our terms. So if he's 4,720 years old when I knew him then, this woman has to be 6,500 years old. And the pain is so excruciating as she's walking me, cradling me, walking me towards Nucleus 8, who's sitting on what we would call a lawn chair. As I'm looking at her, she's going, telepathically telling me, you went into this on some level expecting pain. And you're right. Have all the pain you want. It hurts so bad I begin to vomit. As she's bringing me upon Nucleus 8 in this lawn chair, I begin to vomit all over his feet. My phone in my bedroom rings, Kevin. And guess who's on the phone? It's Nucleus 8. He says, good morning, dude. I said, no, I just had a dream about you. He says, no, you didn't. I said, dude, don't tell me. I just had a dream about you. He said, Keith, you weren't dreaming. I said, are you sure, bro? He says, the vomit all over my feet tells me so. This is when I begin to experience even more things with him on many different levels because of my level of belief in that was transpiring in my life surrounding Nucleus 8. So long story short, when I met him, we remembered each other again after those 14 years. The first session, he says, hey, buddy, you want me to tweak that implant that I gave you all those years ago?
How would you know that's not just someone just playing with you on the other end of the phone?
One, the experiences I've had beyond the waking state of the waking world state, because being on that table with Dr. X Hare, people will say, well, Keith, you were being hypnotized. That's not it at all. It truly isn't. Being able to manipulate, move me between realms. One thing that I always use as my barometer for truth is my level of absolute peace and joy in any situation. So I know this is real because of the experiences I've had. We all know that experience that you had by the friend named John Doe who picked you up every Friday after school and you'd go to pep rallies and football games. You know that. I likewise know this as well. No different. These are truly my experience with Nucleus 8. And for those, this is not a matter of trying to prove anything or this disbelief, but anyone who wants to move into the rabbit hole further, send me an email at keithanthonyblanchard.com. I would be more than happy to send you links to these 5 books authored by Dr. X Hare, which will tell the story in greater detail because he was with this for 15 years.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And all right. Well, let's just move on. Let's move on from that point as well. So I think we've discussed some fascinating stuff in this interview, and obviously coming back to your book, Homecoming, Crossing the Bridge to the Soul. that, as you said previously, took you 2 years to write. It's now available, and it's a great read as well. You've got some fantastic sayings, and you've got a fantastic way with words, which I know you've been told that before, probably. And there's so much great stuff in this book. It really is worth a read. How do you feel when you have contact from people that have been transformed by just the process that you've been through, by putting that into writings that you've done, and including this book as well?
I feel grateful to be a vessel. Feel grateful to be a catalyst, and not only in the reward sense. I'm starving to continue to be that catalyst and that vessel, because in that place for me, Kevin, is something so powerful, something so subtle, and something so delicious. I don't ever want to leave that place. I want to go back home, so to speak, in this body, to become the anchor for the prophecy of heaven and earth that we all know, that scripture has been talking about for years. So I feel that I'm moving in that place, but to see someone glow, someone become a light, aloft, when they drift into the cosmic current of just absolute joy. I always say joy is evidence of the presence of God. When I see that I'm a catalyst or a part of that, I expand as well. And when someone that I've expanded expands someone, we both expand as well. So for me, just seeing a beautiful smile on someone's face is a beacon for me to say, keep walking in this direction, Keith.
Absolutely. And what direction do you think we're heading to? I mean, you've lived on Earth for a while now. Where do you see us going? Or where could we go?
I don't want to play. Let me just answer the question how I feel you've asked it, because there are three directions. One is we can go to hell. We live outward. That's exactly where we're going to go. Or we can take Highway 1 and go to the internal supermarket where all our sustenance and manna truly lies. Or we can consider everything a possibility and understand the power simply in being human. Being human is divine in and of itself. And because we can never, it's literally impossible. You can never understand and or reach God until we understand and or reach the small, puny, finite little self. How can we ever expect to grasp, taste, smell, be with, make love to when we don't understand this? So we have to become to a state of wholeness within ourselves so we can understand the wholeness that everything is. In understanding it, what this is out here, simply the world, if the world simply stopped bickering, peace can happen overnight. But the voices of right and wrong are making such a racket. The angel and the devil. We know the devil is devilish, but are we absolutely sure the angel on this shoulder is not the same devil in disguise? Yammering. They're both yammering, so they're both incorrect choices because they're trying to entice us into a fight. So when we're quiet and still, be still and know. That word stillness is so deep, so encrypted with just simply being still on every possible level.
And Keith, your website is?
KeithAnthonyBlanchard.com or centeroflightradio.com. They take you to the same place.
Okay. Well, we're going to link your book, your YouTube channel, and any other links in the description below. So, Keith, I just want to thank you so much for coming on today. I know we've gone over time here right now, but I thought, this is just worth just doing this because I think what you had to say was really interesting, and I really appreciate you sharing your wisdom with us.
I'm grateful. Thank you, Kevin, for the opportunity to spend time with you, and hello, beautiful Kevin Moore Show audience. Nice to meet you.